Once a giant, always a giant. For me, it's only a giant.
What's going on YouTube? D546. Definitely hit that subscribe button if you're new. Like the video if you like the video. And I won't tell if you click that bell. But let's go ahead and get into this. Alright, so I wanted to make a video to pretty much talk about what's going on with this defense. They are not playing well at all. I think I saw a stat that just pretty much says we're about 75% of the way uh, to missed tackles this year as we were last year. I think we had like 40 something last year. This year we're already close to 30. And I've seen some stats, some sites say that we have 33 missed tackles, some sites say we have 29. I'm going to be using PFF's stats, and I'll use their stats and their snap counts and things like that, but I will not use their grades just as gospel. I mean, you'll see me reference pass rush win rate here. Take that with a grain of salt because these are people's interpretations. But things like snap counts, things like that, I think are very, very useful to use when looking at PFF. So let's just get straight to this. First off, the big problem with the Giants defense is they're letting teams kind of loosen up on them. They're letting teams pretty much be able to loosen up after the first half. They're giving up, I think, 9 points a game in the first quarter. So that shows that for the most part, we're allowing teams to go down the field, score a touchdown, and then go back down the field and score a field goal, usually in the first quarter. When you look at the first half, we're giving up an average of 21 points per game this year in the first half. That is ridiculous. It's unacceptable. That's way too many points that we're giving up in the first half this year. So after that, I mean, you're looking at the third quarter, the fourth quarter, teams are just saying, like, we can run the ball. We're up. They're usually up a pretty decent amount. So that is something that needs to change. We're also on the field for 32 minutes a game. And let's also remember that week 1 against Dallas, we were on the field at times because we kept turning the ball over. We kept having crazy mistakes. So that's not even counting that. If that was a straight up game, we probably would lose time possession worse than we did week 1. So 32 minutes per game is what we're allowing our defense to stay on the field as. The defense starts to get tired. And then we're 28th out of 32 teams. We're 28th on third down. We're giving up 48% of third downs. That's almost half the time we're not getting off the field on third down. So you can just basically flip a coin and go for it on third down against this Giants team. And that is one of the bigger differences this year, is that we were a great third down team last year. And we were a great red zone team last year on both sides of the football. And that has changed this year. That's changed this year, at least on third downs for the offense, and then as well as the defense. So we have got to start executing in these crucial situations. I do believe we have a better offensive and defensive roster this year, but it's not showing up on tape because these players simply aren't executing. And speaking of execution, huge issue, and the reason that we are not getting off the field on third down, one of the biggest reasons is missed tackles. I mean, according to PFF, and I referenced this a little bit earlier, they have 29 missed tackles. And if you count other sites, they have 33 missed tackles. So that shows that there are around 10 to 11 missed tackles a game. Which means if you have 10 missed tackles a game, just imagine how many of those missed tackles are going for first downs. Just imagine how many of those missed tackles that you have are going for first downs after you don't wrap the guy up. So it's impossible to get off the field if you're not going to be able to tackle. Jason Pinnock, 6 missed tackles. McFadden, 7 missed tackles. Bobby Okereke, 4 missed tackles. Trey Hawkins, 3 missed tackles. And Trey Hawkins this past game literally both shoulders dove at a guy and just didn't touch him at all. Completely missed him. I mean, wasn't looking where he was tackling. Completely missed him. So the tackling has been piss poor. It's been bad. It's been awful. And they cannot sustain this. We cannot hope that we can win any games if we're not going to tackle. And again, we have a lot of the same players. We have just got to commit to say we're going to tackle. We're going to swarm to the football. Last year, that's what we did. Very little yak, very little missed tackles, and execution on third, fourth downs, and red zone. And that's what we're not doing this year. Moving forward, the run game, and that plays off of the missed tackles. We're giving up 138 yards per game. That's just not good. Um, and when you look at it, the thing that frustrates you the most is we're not getting gashed on average in the run game. We're giving up 4.2 yards per carry, which is not bad. It's 17th in the league. It's not bad. It's towards the second half of the league, but it's not bad. You know, you're not giving up 4.5. You're not giving up 4.7 or 4.8. You're only giving up 4.2 yards per carry. So if there's any improvement in the Giants' run defense, they could be a team that gives up around 4 yards to 3.9 yards a carry. And I think that is just fine and dandy. If you can do that, you're not horrible against the run. So that shows me that we need to get teams to run the ball less against us. And this 138 yards per game number is going to go down to about 115 yards a game. Or if they run it 10, 15 times, it's going to go down a lot more. So they're just getting a lot of at-bats running this football. And they're taking the small chunks. They're taking the small chunks. And that is what's eating us alive in the run game. And what I'm about to say is very, very upsetting because when they run off a right tackle, and that means they're running behind their right tackle over to the side that Kayvon Thibodeaux isn't at. So this is Jihad Ward, O'Shane Ximines, sometimes Isaiah Simmons. And you also have to include the cornerbacks that are over there because they have to make those tackles too sometimes. 5.64 yards per play running off right tackle. So that means that side is a sieve in the run game. Now I said whether that is the linebacker to that side. A lot of times Michael McFadden's on that side. Whether that's the edge player to that side, like I said, Jihad Ward or Isaiah Simmons or O'Shane Ximines, or whether that's the slot corner or the corner, which would be Adoree Jackson. And I think Trey Hawkins lines up on that side. I may be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure Trey Hawkins lines up on that side most of the time. We cannot have that. 5.64 yards every time they run off right tackle. That is crazy. So then you have 4.79 yards off of left tackle, which isn't much better. It's about a yard better. So you have 5.5 yards per play off of right tackle, and you have 4.79, so almost 5 yards per carry going off a left tackle. Going off a left tackle. So that's where Kayvon is too. So neither edge is stopping the run. I have an issue with this because we pounded the table all offseason to say we need edge depth in the worst way. Not only did we not draft an edge, we didn't sign a veteran edge. We traded for Boogie Basham, who hasn't really made an impact so far. So it's been rough sledding from this perspective because we do not have an edge that's our third edge that can stop the run, and we also don't have an edge that can rush the passing. So those are some stats there. Also, when they run the ball up the middle of the field, we're only giving up 3.2 yards per carry, which means Dex is doing his job, Leo's doing his job. It's the edges. It's clearly the edges, just as it was last year. Jordan Riley was a good player for us, but for some reason, Jordan Riley can't get a jersey the past 2 weeks. When they take Dex out and when they take Leo out, they're putting in guys that just aren't. There's a drop-off. Now, A'Shawn Robinson has looked pretty solid, but the other defensive tackles have not been able to make that impact in the run game. Now, I don't have the stats in front of me for when they run behind left guard and right guard, but as far as running straight up the middle, not much is going on there. So I think we should think about giving Jordan Riley a jersey because he looked good all preseason. He looked good week one. And then we just set him down on the bench for some reason. And he's not on the injury report. So unless they're lying on the injury report, he's a healthy scratch, which to me doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So what are we doing as far as the pass rush goes? First off, Dex and Leo are carrying the pass rush because they have win rates. And like I said, take this with a grain of salt. Win rates of 22% and 17%. As far as pressures, I think Dex has 13, Leo has 9, somewhere around that. So they're doing their jobs on the interior. But if they're winning and then another guy's just coming to help out, which is pretty much what's going to happen in the offensive line, I mean, you got to have your edges. That means that they're pulling away that right guard and they're pulling away that left guard from the edges. And that means that Thibodeaux and whoever else is going to be on the other side, because Aziz isn't healthy. That means that Thibodeaux or Isaiah Simmons, who he hasn't lined up as an actual edge rusher, he's just kind of stood beside the edge. So I want to make that clear. But that means that Thibodeaux and Jahad Ward and O'Shane Ximines are not winning their one-on-one matchups. And that makes me want to go down the rabbit hole about Kayvon Thibodeaux. And I have some stats here where, of course, he had that sack, which was very much a coverage sack. Let's be honest. I mean, the quarterback held the ball for like 6 seconds, and finally he came through. He has 22 coverage snaps, Kayvon Thibodeaux does. 22 snaps where he dropped back into coverage. That is 10 more than any other edge or defensive lineman on our team, which you're 22 pass coverage snaps. He's not an elite pass coverage guy. He's not a pass coverage. He's not good at that. And he's not good at tackling in the open field, but we continue to drop him back in the coverage, and it's not going well for us. Also, 22, like I said, coverage snaps, and then you have 76 pass rush snaps. So once you do the math on that, Kayvon Thibodeaux is in coverage about 30% of the times that teams are passing. So that means that almost a third of the times teams are passing, Kayvon Thibodeaux is dropping back into coverage. Wink has to revisit that. Wink needs to rip that up. I understand you want exotic blitzes. I understand it. But obviously what we're doing is not working, and Thibodeaux needs to be rushing the passer more. And I say that, and I'm just hoping that the reason that he hasn't been a more effective pass rusher when he's rushing the passer is because he's out of rhythm, and hopefully they'll get him into rhythm by dropping him into coverage less. But right now, PFF, again, grain of salt. So, give or take, 5 or 6% maybe, 1 or 2% maybe. But they have him right now winning 2% of his pass rush reps. 2%. That is ridiculously low. And I said, listen, it's PFF. They could be wrong. There are reasons why, maybe he's not winning reps. Maybe he's holding the backside, but add on 10%. Say he's winning 12%. That's not good enough. That's not good enough for a guy that is getting singled up in these pass rush times almost every time. Most of the time he's lined up beside Dex and he's getting singled up on the edge. So he's got to play better there. But I think one of the steps to get him to play better is to stop dropping him in the pass. Stop dropping the guy in the pass coverage almost a third of the time that they're passing the ball. Lastly, Adoree Jackson and Pinnock have been getting toasted in the secondary. It has not been an entire secondary issue. It's been Adoree Jackson and Jason Pinnock. And combine their stats of what they've given up. They've given up 20 passes for 30 yards. They've given up 20 passes out of 30 passes. And that is for 324 yards and a touchdown. So that's a Pro Bowl quarterback kind of game. 324 and a touchdown, 20 for 30. So that's 66% and a touchdown and 324 yards. So absolutely getting toasted. And Adoree Jackson has given up 201 of those yards. They have got to step up. Pinnock was good last year. Now, it's his second year. Maybe they've seen some tape. But Adoree Jackson it looks like he's playing out of position. He's not the best tackler in that slot. He's not able to cover guys the way he can on the outside with the slot. I mean, there were times where Adoree Jackson last year put on absolute clinics on the outside playing cornerback, and he's just not that same player. And it's sad because you want him to be able to succeed as a player, but also he's probably still our best slot option, or maybe he's not. But you got those two young corners, and they're playing pretty decently. They haven't been flawless, but they're playing pretty decently. So I don't think that you want to sacrifice the future of these two rookie corners by sitting one of them down on the bench for the rest of the year so Adoree can go back outside, and he's probably gone after this year. So that's my one positive that I'll, kind of wrap this video up with, is that the two rookies, the two rookies, Deonte Banks and Trey Hawkins have given up 10 passes out of 18 targets and 125 yards and 1 touchdown so far. So some people might say it's over 125 yards. First off, remember that these stats are for both of the rookie corners. So that averages between Deonte Banks and Trey Hawkins per game. They're giving up 3 for 6 for 41 yards a game between the two. So if you average it out between the two, as I'm still doing math here, that means that each rookie corner, beside with these two guys, are giving up about 1 or 2 passes out of 4 targets for about 20 yards a game. So nothing crazy here for the rookies. And I think it's time, just as you saw Wink do last year. Yes, Deonte Banks gave up a touchdown on that out route. It is what it is. Wink blitzed last week 84% of the time. And I think he's finally starting to trust these two rookie corners, and he's stopping with the conservativeness. Let's get back to blitzing. Let's get back to being aggressive. I think that this is going to help this team. Now, last week we missed a bunch of tackles, but it was against the San Francisco 49ers. So we're not playing one of these teams that are elite yak guys. You just got to trust in these defenders that they're going to turn it around. These two rookie corners have not been embarrassed yet. Send the house, Wink. Keep sending it, and allow these rookie corners to hold up outside. And we're going to have to figure out how to fix the Hadori problem in the slot. It may just not be fixable, but I think these two rookies for now are going to hold up on the outsides. But that's really what I'm seeing right now. Everything I've kind of covered today on the defense. I think they just have to get back to playing fundamentally sound football, to swarm into the football. And I really think this defense can turn around. Now, the Thibodeaux problem, I think, as I said, I think we should stop dropping him back into coverage as much. And I think he's just got to just let loose. Just let loose, come after the quarterback. You got the athleticism, you got the speed and power. Be more violent as a pass rusher. Come after that quarterback. Because right now we're not stopping the run either way. So if you're going to use the argument of he's got to stop the run, he has to be conservative. What he's doing right now isn't working anyway. So I just say get after the quarterback, especially this week. Get after the quarterback. And I think this Giants defense can go from being one of the worst defenses in the league right now to hopefully just being an average defense. Let's just get back to that this year. So you guys let me know what you're thinking of the Giants defense this year. We got to do a lot of stuff better, but hopefully it starts this week against an offensive team that has put up 37 points the past 2 weeks. If you made it this deep into the video, come on, just hit the subscribe button. I make Giants content primarily, draft content secondarily, and during the season, I'm going to be doing a lot of reacting to pretty much most of the NFL games and everything NFL. So if you made it this deep, go ahead and join the D6 squad.